Hello, everyone. So today we have Ahmad Albarqawi, and he is the CTO of MedRight, which is an AI healthcare startup that has actually raised some funding today or this year. And he also founded Skyscreen, which was acquired in 2014, and this provided video on demand. He's a data scientist, and he founded a framework called IntelliNode, which is an open source framework for multi-agents. He has also worked in cybersecurity. He's originally from Jordan and he moved to Ireland in 2020, so just before COVID.
So yeah, that's a bit crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay, Ahmed. So to get started, before we get into any of your professional career so far, I'd like to understand, what was it that made you get started in this area? What was it perhaps in your background, or what is it personally for you that made you interested to get started in AI, cybersecurity, healthcare, all of these different areas?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I'm glad to be here with you, Liada. By the way, like we met in a hackathon for AI agents, we can talk more about it, and now I'm here. So the thing is, like, since 2007, I noticed the future of AI, and I wanted to change my career from a developer, normal backend developer, to AI. So I started to take some courses and build some open source libraries contributed to the community. And one of them is IntelliNode, which is the library for multi-agent AI.
Can you tell us a little bit more about IntelliNode, actually? Because that is it seems so interesting. And you told me before that it's being used by 20,000 developers worldwide, which is amazing.
It's interesting and unplanned. Like in 2022, I participated in a hackathon from OpenAI, and I got the first place globally, worldwide. And that hackathon started even for ChatGPT hype. At that time, we had Da Vinci.
He started before the ChatGPT hype, okay?
And we missed many tools during that times, like things related to vector database, getting the right data to the right model. All of this we're missing. So this is why when I started IntelliNode, I started to build wrappers and utility around my common world for cybersecurity, for healthcare, and so on, mainly to help myself. But then I noticed the community is downloading that library. Like it's reached more than 20,000 download now. And that's interesting. Like when I built something for myself, but then I noticed, okay, that's helping other people in the community.
So you accidentally built this amazing tool that lots and lots of developers were like, this is amazing, we need this. So you built it for yourself, and then it became huge for others.
Yes, and this is the interesting about it. It came natural. Based from the community and based on the use cases I worked on it.
Okay.
And then after that, I started to focus more on the healthcare part, because I noticed a problem, like we can apply AI easily in multiple sectors, like marketing. There's no issue to generate an image or text with AI, but in health sector, it's quite complex. Like we are playing with patient lives. So we cannot apply AI without the right experience and the right framework for transparency and so on. And this is where I started my startup, which is MedRight AI. And I started that with my previous manager from Novartis, where I used to work here in Ireland.
Okay. Wow. So that is, a very, very varied kind of background. What was it? So was there anything in particular in healthcare that really sort of made you interested in, I suppose, healthcare?
Good question. You know, like here, sometimes here in Ireland, we get long time till we meet a doctor in hospital or being with the right consultant. And this is because the high workload for those doctors and consultants. And this drives me to start a study with my partner, Sean, to meet doctors and understand what's their pain and where we can resolve that. And we find like they spend lots of time on admin stuff. For example, after meeting the patient think it's the end of story, but no, for the doctor, they have to write their medical notes, they have to write the GP letter, maybe doing some referrals. And this quite time is extensive, like it's occupy about 40% of the consultant time based on the interviews we did before with doctors, also based on other studies published. For example, from a clinic called Mayo Clinic in US, they found like doctors spend 49% of their time.
The Mayo Clinic found that doctors spend 40% of their time.
49. on electronics health records.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So on non-patient interactions, but
Yes.
other admin things, like almost half of their time is just spent.
Yeah, that's lots of time. And sometimes they have to spend time after working hours in order to do those admin stuff. So this is why we started to focus. Okay, let's try to bring the AI. That's nice tool that's giving human superpowers to healthcare, but we should be careful. Like in healthcare, we are playing with patient life, so there's no chance for security risk, or we should mitigate the hallucinations. I'm sure you know about lots of this stuff because also you have a startup, Sony Labs, that work on improving the security for agents. So like, okay, improving security for agents is important, but in healthcare is very, very important. So.
Yeah. That's very, very there. So I mean, speaking about security for AI and how you're doing it for MedRight, what are some general security considerations that you have for when you're building out your AI agents for MedRight to give to doctors to make sure that they're, secure, that it's all done in as safe a manner as possible?
Yeah, this is an important question, and I can talk about my experience from MedRight itself, or previously I worked with a cybersecurity company where we faced lots of this risk when we started to apply agents and AI. I mean, like LLM part of AI into our products. And one of the biggest security issues is data breaches, because if I have a person who accesses the data, for example, Liana or Sean or anybody as a person, I can give you the right permission for your user to access those data. But if there is an AI in the middle, and the AI going to be responsible, the same LLM model going to be responsible to send the data to multiple users, here it's very risky, because it's very hard to track who has the permission to this data and why the LLM send this data to this user, not this user. So that's require lots of tools to monitor and orchestrate how the data flow from the source to the end users. Also, like I reviewed one Gartner reports when I used to work with a cybersecurity company before applying the AI method into our systems. And this is one of the main concerns they talked about it, how to control the AI or the LLM agents data access. There is another thing related to prompt injections. You're already building tools for prompt injections, right?
Yeah, for detecting prompt injections. Yeah, it's a really big area.
Yeah. Yes. Because like whatever come to our mind during development, after releasing the product to production, you will find use cases that we didn't think about it. And this is why we should keep improving and have the right tools to monitor those prompts and make sure that injections doesn't bypass and cause harm to the users. And whenever we talk about a breach of personal identifiable information for patients, like this is something, it's not called a bug, but like it's something that's impact patient lives. Like that should be private and secure. So this is another security risk related to this.
Yeah, and all of the privacy risks associated with all kinds of personal data in healthcare. And I think there's there's some regulations that are already in place around, I suppose, like GDPR, especially in the EU. But yeah, now there's also like the EU AI Act is now coming out as well. So, and there's a lot of regulations kind of putting limitations to what companies can do. In some ways, it's very, very useful to make sure that things are done properly as well. So
yeah, and the challenge, for example, stuff, for example, something like EU AI Act, it's new, so it's very hard to find the right expert in the market. So like, okay, we bring the persons with the right background to understand it, but also we have to explore it together in order to apply this. The good thing, like Europe is quite ahead comparing to other regions in being safe in the way we apply AI, but also like even here it's considered in new regulations. Like it's not easy to adapt with the
yeah, of course, everyone's figuring it out at the moment.
Yes. For example, one of the stuff we are trying to do related to hiding patient information. For example, sometimes we have to apply very large model to solve a problem that we cannot solve it using private models or small models. So here we have to collaborate between having a small model that's gonna filter the patient identifier information locally, remove all of them. Then we're gonna have large model in the cloud that do the sophisticated work to make sure the patient is protected. So sometimes we have to come with the smart architectures in order to be able to apply those large models in production scenarios for the hospital, which is not a problem in other markets. For example, if I want to generate a marketing image, like I can call any model, like it's very easy.
Yeah. That's very interesting around the technical implications of building specifically for healthcare to make sure that you're meeting these kind of privacy and security regulations. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the technical aspects that you're building that you're able to share for MedRight?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about some of the architectures we are applying in MedRight. And also that's related also to IntelliNode, like the way I implemented IntelliNode in order to solve my whole problem. I like whole start.
You're using IntelliNode for your own start.
Yes.
MedRight AI.
Yeah. So the idea is, for example, sometimes we have to implement a collaboration of multiple models. Let's assume we want a vision model that's analyze images, X-rays, or whatever. Then we're gonna have another model that's specialized to analyze the text or the notes, and another model that's do recommendation. So sometimes we have a situation we have to implement multiple models, and there is multiple ways to implement those orchestration. But one interesting way is building the orchestration using graphs. And why graphs? Because in a graphs we can control the relations between models. So we can say we can control the dependencies. We can say this model should start before that model in order to provide the right data. Another thing we can do it using graphic is parallel execution, because the relation is clear. We know which kind of nodes we can execute in parallel and what nodes that's required to be executed sequentially, because there's dependency based on that. Also transferring the data from one model type to another. For example, if you have a speech model with an image model, with a text model, transferring the data between them is very tough. So the thing is, we decided instead of building a static code that's moved the data from one model to another based on each use case, we built a framework, which is IntelliNode, that orchestrate the data flow as a graph. So from there, for example, I just set an IntelliNode, this is my speech model, this is my text model. Automatically, IntelliNode gonna figure out how to transfer the output from this one to this one. So this is one of the things we are building in IntelliNode. Yep.
Wow. I love that. Wow. That sounds very complex. And it sounds like you have to make sure that you're doing it very carefully and to test out, I suppose, all those different nodes carefully that everything works well together.
Yeah. And one important part also the transparency, like the output of each model should be clear. Yep. Why the model decided to export this output. We always look that in order to have transparent validation. If the model make, for example, specific recommendation or specific output, we should be able to backtrack and see why the model did this kind of decision or caused this kind of issue. Sometimes we could notice, for example, X or Y data is missing.
Yeah.
And because we care about transparency and we look everything, it's easy to track and know what's caused this kind of behavior.
Yeah, so that's the area of AI explainability, which has been huge for quite some time, because ultimately, like right now, with a lot of these LLMs, they're a bit of a black box kind of model. It's that we don't really know exactly what's going on inside. But for sectors like healthcare, for like what you're working on with doctors, essentially using the AI in such a way that could impact people's lives, you have to have ways to have that explainability in place. So it's great that you were able to do that with your own solution of IntelliNode.
Yes. And just to give you also a little bit of the latest research we are doing, currently, like there's a paper we published to IEEE conference that's we're gonna showcase that in August in Taiwan. And this paper talk about transparency and ethical AI, how to make sure we able to trace the data whenever we build a multi-agent system, Also, we introduced the idea of transparency agents, and that transparency agents will validate the output of those models, comparing to the results and give a transparency score. So, for example, if we apply this in medical sector, this is still a research. We didn't apply it yet. But when we apply it, the doctor going to be able to know, okay, this is the transparency score of this output. So if the transparency score is high, at least the model, they can trust to search and extend the model and says, okay, it's generated things that is relevant to the results. But if the transparency score is low, maybe it's an issue or not, but that gave an indication to the doctor, okay, please go and verify what's the reasoning behind these outputs. So we kind of help the doctor to know when they have to go and verify what's happened or why this output exported, or the times where, okay, they can trust the model to a certain extent. I'm talking about the doctor, but this can be applied to any kind of sectors. Transparency score will help, especially with all regulated environments. For example, banking, healthcare. I think government's also going to care about this.
Cool. Yeah. Definitely. Like right now you're testing it out with I suppose you're testing it out with your research, and you also bringing it into MedRight. But it can be used. It sounds like it can be used, in so many different places. Like this kind of thing is very much needed, especially with the way that there's a lot of proprietary models that are out from the market and how much they're being used.
Yeah. And one of the challenges, because you talked about the models in the market. Sometimes, okay, we want to go to the latest and best models, but those models keep changing their behaviors. For example, let's assume you are using now OpenAI.
Yeah.
Because at specific time, it used to get the highest benchmarks, but then you move to Anthropic for any kind of reason, because now it's exceed the benchmarks. Then you have to go to Google models. So, it's very, very challenging to pick the right model for the right time. And it's either, for example, you miss using the latest models, or you do very risky approach to keep switching from model to another. So it's very important to build similar kinds of frameworks. Like, for example, transparency score is one solution. Maybe graph orchestration is another solution, but it's not everything. Like, this is an area where require everybody contribution, because it is not it's not yet mature market. So there is really a chance for everybody to contribute to this.
Yeah.
And again, backing to the work you are doing, it's very important to be able to track, for example, the prompts, regardless which model we pick, tracking the prompt as input and output. It's common between all the models. So at least if we secure these two layers, what happened in the middle, we can manipulate with it or play with it and switch between model to another at that.
Yeah. I think that, it's becoming very, very important. I suppose the area of AI safety overall in terms of transparency, security and so on. I'm wondering, how have you seen this area change in the last few years? Even, do you believe that it is being perhaps taken more seriously now, or what are your thoughts on it, both technically and generally?
I like this question a lot because the market changed massively in the previous 3 years. For example, I remember before 2020 meeting some startups or some founders or reading about them in the internet, and they are talking about how they changing the market landscape using AI tools at that time. But as an engineer, I know whatever they are talking about was impossible at that time. So they were riding the hype and talking about, we're gonna switch and change the market. But most developers and that scientists know, okay, it wasn't possible to this extent. However, this has changed a lot after 2020 and after ChatGPT release and some of the latest models, like maybe ChatGPT started the hype with their paper about transformers. They start to scale it with GPT-1, GPT-2. But then Anthropic came with their own models. Also, Google started to scale all those models using Gemini. And now, okay, I see that vision. We can apply it now. Really, we are now in a time where we can have an AI automate a whole job and allow us to focus on more important stuff. So I think this is the right time to apply AI to the market. Again, we didn't reach the level where we have an AGI that's able to do everything without a human monitoring. But at least we reach a good point where we can automate lots of manual stuff that couldn't be automated before.
Yeah. And do you feel that this kind of boom, how do you see that impacting this AI boom? How do you see that impacting your startup? And how have you found building your startup in the last few years? What sort of process or what things really worked for you in that?
Yeah. Good. The thing is, currently it's allowed us to have unlimited use cases or more use cases where we can improve the healthcare sector. For example, long time ago, if I wanted to build my startup, I wouldn't have the courage to tell the doctor, like, I'm gonna build full on AI that generate for you or the referral, understand whenever you want a referral, is gonna generate the letter for you. Then when the patient want to, it's the time to discharge the patient, we're gonna generate automatically the discharge letter. Then only you have to review it and clinically approve it or do small edits. Like this kind of stuff wasn't possible. Like previously we used to do, for example, maybe data extractions for some medical codes or so on. However, now, like, we can apply AI in many use cases. And one of the interesting stuff we can do it now, related to building what we call it a medical operator. For example, there is lots of outdated...
A medical operation.
Medical operator, yeah. There is lots of outdated systems in the medical sectors. And again, I understand why they are outdated. It's very hard to do upgrade because there is a risk of bugs and issues. So like in medical sectors, if you see the systems, you might see the old Oracle phones, screens still applying in those hospitals because they are very, very careful to move from one version to another. Once they prove it's safe, there's no bugs, it's very hard decision to move to the next upgrade. This is why they have to do lots of things manually, and I am surprised how many manual stuff they have to do in the hospital. Then there is the idea of medical operators where we can use AI to control the mouse on behalf of the doctor and fill those forms on behalf of them. So we get one of the things we are building in MedRight, like we have an operator that's going to fill the form. For that outdated system that doesn't include API, we couldn't integrate with it before. Then the doctor going to go and review that form, maybe do some tweaks and edits, then submit it, for example, to the insurance company. This kind of use cases wasn't possible before, but this is one of the use cases we started to apply it now into medical sector.
Okay, wow. And so you talked about how the medical sector has been sort of risk averse.
Yes.
To say, do you feel that that's changing now with AI, or is it, slowly changing? What's the general feel for how AI is being used or developed within the medical sector?
Yeah, this is a good point. Like currently it's changing, but it's a little bit slow. For example, some of the known electronic health record systems, for example, like Cerner, they started to introduce a little bit of...
Which one, sorry?
Cerner, it's called, from Oracle. They started to introduce some of the AI features into their latest version, but the amount of hospitals that use their latest version, they are very, very, very few. Like it's very hard to find a hospital that use the latest Cerner version. Again, like it's very costly to upgrade. Also, there is the risk, as we said. And this is why we are trying here to come up to the hospital and tell them, okay, maybe you have your outdated system. It's not easy for you to upgrade, but if you use our tool on top of your system, we can help you to do this kind of upgrade. And this is one of the things we did in one of the public hospitals in Ireland. They have that very good electronic health record, but it doesn't include AI capabilities. So we did a collaboration where they added MedRight as a plugin. So currently they are using MedRight to record the notes, generate the letters automatically. But then after the letter is generated, we store it into their electronic health records. So this is what kind of the things we do to help with the upgrades without the need for the hospital to a mass change all the electronic health record.
Okay, so it's a simple plugin that hospitals can essentially set up that can basically help them to automate some of these administrative kind of tasks.
Yes. And this happened after we met with multiple people. Like this is the main issue we found. Okay, there are the big players, again, like Oracle, but they are very expensive and not every hospital can afford that. and most of hospitals, they have RTS still. So this is why where we found, okay, maybe our place to give a plugin for those systems and help to apply AI on what they have without doing massive investments.
Okay. And are you seeing a difference in the hospital's kind of risk tolerance in Europe versus, say, for example, in the United States or in other places? Or do you think it's kind of moving along sort of slowly at the same pace?
Maybe US a little bit ahead because they have less regulations than here, because we didn't access the US market yet, but I did my study for the competitor over there, and I found like some hospitals started to adapt some of these tools earlier than here. Here, like, it's newly adapted.
Yeah.
However, the good thing about Europe, it's clear, like the regulation is clear. For example, we have to be complying with GDPR. There's the latest one, the AI Act. So we know what kind of thing we have to adapt with it in order to apply the AI. And this is the approach we are following. So like you can say like Europe, it's ahead, but yet like maybe not like US at the moment. US like apply this time.
Yeah. But I suppose in one way to be optimistic about it, hospitals are still willing to go for these kinds of
Yes.
the EU AI Act isn't stopping them in any way.
100%.
In fact, like you said, it's helping to give some guardrails around sort of what you're building, so you know, okay, what's not okay, and that's maybe helping you. And
100%. And the good thing about it, like once we apply those regulations in Ireland, it's gonna be easy to switch to other markets. For example, take the same thing and apply it to Germany. And this is what I like here. Like it's all unified regulations. So you apply it one and we can go everywhere.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I'm sure like these kind of like regulations or more like the guardrails, they will help everywhere. You know, like
Yep.
Like they're beneficial for the rest of the world as well.
Yeah. For example, sometimes we talk with countries that doesn't have the regulations yet to start to tell them about the tool. But also it helps us, like we tell them, okay, we are GDPR compliant. Maybe they don't care about the GDPR, it's not their regulations, but knowing that we are compliant with that gives them a safety measure. Like, okay, like at least they went through one of the toughest regulations in the world and they managed to apply your system there. So it's going to be easy to apply it in other areas of the world.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. So it sounds like you're making really good progress. It sounds like you're going to help to really optimize doctors' lives as well and their career lives.
Yeah, so far, currently in Ireland, we are with around 3 hospitals and a clinic. We started this year, so it's a good progress comparing to 1 year. And we're going to start to explore other markets by next year. Or by 2026, mainly, we're going to start to explore the new markets. So the thing is, even we are focusing on Ireland, we are having interviews with doctors in other regions to understand where to expand and what's the right market to go. And we see the same issues. Again, like doctor time is important. They're wasting time on lots of manual tasks that's become easy to automate today.
Yeah, of course. So, and now is a great time to have these kinds of solutions, to build these kinds of solutions.
Yes, 100%. Not only for the medical sector, for any sector, like there is really a chance to revamp everything. That reminds me of, by the way, you talked about my first startup, which is SkyScreen.
Yeah.
I started that startup in 2011. At that time, we had the mobile boom. And 2011, 2012, like it was the iPhone boom. Yeah. And I remember I'm publishing the simplest mobile application into the market without doing any marketing effort. And I received 500,000 downloads, 100,000.
Oh, wow.
100,000 downloads. Like it's really interesting when you access market from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because there is no much competition. So you can do lots of changes. Yeah. But at that time, I didn't have the experience I have now. So like, okay, we were acquired, but in a small scale. So, and I was looking for the next hype, with the experience in order to apply this, and now is the AI time. So it's like the mobile boom, but for AI, and this is the chance, like, and this chance doesn't happen lots in our lifetime. So it's good to utilize it and has to improve, not only to build my own startup, but help to improve people's lives, like be the person who contribute to improve personal lives.
Yeah, yeah, wow, yeah. So you took your past experience and you said it was in a smaller scale, and then you took the learnings from that, and now you're applying it to kind of the big AI.
Yeah. Hopefully now with a big scale.
Yeah. Okay, wow. So I mean AI. So you're using it. You're building your startup with it. You were a data scientist for many years. How are you using AI personally, or even just to help you within your startup as well? Do you have any sort of tips or any AI hacks that you can share?
Yeah, cool. So it's important to know the person who use AI gonna replace the person that doesn't use AI. So like we should apply AI for it. I make people from other companies where they prevent them to use AI tools, and this is for me. I see it wrong. Like they might lose the market if they don't apply the AI rules, the AI tools. Sorry. So this is why in our startup, like we said, like we have, for example, like let's say a goal or target to have something called AI in every role. So we tell the employees in our startup, you should apply like one of the targets you have until the end of the year to tell us how you applied AI securely and carefully into your role. So this is very important for us. And we give access to every employee to ChatGPT, to Anthropic, through the enterprise account, which is private, in order to allow them to accelerate their work. And the same thing I do for myself. For example, when I want to review a code, one of the things I do in my startup now, okay, we have engineer, but I'm still doing PR reviews. I'm trying also to use AI to help me with the PR reviews. Whenever I want to review a PR before the production reviews, yeah, I can review it myself, but sometimes the AI tell me, okay, maybe you didn't touch this issue or that issue. So this is very, very important.
So it flags those kind of issues for you quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing we are using, or I'm using mainly Cursor as an ideator.
So yeah.
Sometimes I'm using Replit if I want to build fast prototype. So both of these tools really helpful for developers and engineers. Especially I'm contributing to open source through IntelliNode. Sometimes it's very hard for me to allocate lots of time for IntelliNode because I have my startup. So Cursor, for example, helped me to accelerate my writing. So I said,
what's your Cursor?
Cursor, yeah. For example, if I have an hour to contribute to open source, let's assume I have only an hour. Instead of writing an hour worth of code, Cursor will help me to write 2 days worth of code with this hour. So these tools are powerful. So if you are a developer, use Cursor or Replit or any other tools like this. If you are a writer or somebody who's using AI to help you with ideation, use Anthropic, Google, or OpenAI. Like, don't be shy to use these tools. And if you have a company, let your employees use these tools.
Yeah. Are you seeing a difference in how more senior engineers are using the tools, say the likes of Cursor, Windsurf, or Claude Code, or any of those IDEs, versus maybe more junior engineers? Are you seeing a difference in there? Do you have kind of recommendations that you say maybe to your team as well about what are some of the best ways to do it?
Yeah, this is good. Like sometimes it's very risky also when junior use, for example, something like Cursor, because Cursor is doing massive changes. And this is why we are trying to roll that into phases. For example, at the beginning, we give them access to ChatGPT or Anthropic as a chat, not as a tool. And we ask them, okay, go copy paste your code there. Let it advise to you what to do. Then manually you move the code to the code base, just for you to learn how to use AI carefully. Then after that, after the developer spent, for example, 2 months or 3 months doing that, they understand how AI is changing this code, and we make sure they are doing things in their hand. They understand the code base. At that time, when we start to roll out something like Cursor, because Cursor is going to do things in the background. We'll tell it, I want to add this API. Automatically, it's going to change the code on your behalf and make it ready to commit to GitHub. So just we want to make sure the user has enough knowledge before using those agents. They should understand those code base, what kind of changes. If it's a new code base, we recommend don't use Cursor at the beginning. understand understand the code, work on it for a month or two, then download this kind of agent.
Yeah, so I suppose that also brings up, how do you, when you're hiring people to kind of fill these kind of roles, how do you hire now engineers, knowing that you're going to get them to do this kind of process with using AI more? And then once you hire as well, what's the kind of onboarding process? Like you mentioned, sort of step by step. But what would be sort of the first step? Because like you said, they still would need to understand the code.
Yes.
Before sort of just jumping into it. Do you have any ideas or?
Yeah. And this is a very good question, because when we do the hiring, we know they're gonna use those AI tools, and we know those AI tools might be harmful. As we said, like it might change code, and you don't understand what happened. This is why in our interview we make sure we do, I will not say very tough interview, but tough interview to a certain extent, just to make sure this person has the foundation. And not only the foundation to write the code, like we should ask them about object-oriented, we should ask them about that structure, even like the primitive or the base foundation, do they have that or not? And we meet many who don't have.
Base foundation of computer science.
Yeah, base foundation of computer science. Because one issue we notice, and we always avoid to bring that person, is people who went to that science through courses. They didn't study the computer science basis. They took courses. They know how to use Python, but they don't know what's behind Python in terms of foundation, how things are built up. And the reason we focus more about for this, because we know like we have to apply, we know we want this user to use AI, and we want them to accelerate their work using AI. But also we want to feel safe when AI do some changes, when there's a bug they have to investigate. No, they have the foundation. They are not just somebody who studied the course and came to this interview. So always like people who don't have the foundation, you reject them from the beginning.
So like the principles, the first principles, understanding things from first principles and kind of moving upwards.
Yeah. For example, if they didn't know how to write this kind of syntax in Python, it's okay. Like maybe you don't remember it. This is something you can use AI to write for you, the syntax. But you can't use the AI to give you the foundation. You should have the foundation. So this is the kind of method we use with our interviews at the moment.
Yeah, and of course AI helps with learning this stuff as well.
Yes, 100%.
Definitely. That's how are you seeing engineers or people on your team be able to kind of move faster with their learning?
Yeah, 100%. Like we encourage them to use AI for their learning, and also we encourage everybody to show up their work. AI helped me with that work, or AI helped me to understand this kind of stuff. Because sometimes people are shy to say, okay, they want to say, I learned this myself.
Yeah.
But in our company, we're trying to encourage people, it's okay, say, I use the AI to help me in this kind of stuff, and AI helped me to learn this. We're going to reward you for this. It's not something to be shy.
It's got to be like your transparency piece that you were talking about. Yes, for IntelliNode, you're bringing transparency to the use of AI in your team.
Yeah, 100%. And we know like if we didn't apply AI, we're going to lose the market. Also, we are a small startup. For example, currently we got investment around 1 million for MedRight, but we know we are competing with some companies who got 100 million and they have hundreds of engineers. So how we can compete with those? Like we have to be very smart in our approach. Like we have to make sure every employee is able to contribute for 10 employees in order to compete with those startups or those big companies.
Yeah. And and do you think do you think AI that is also very much helping you and helping your startup, even with from a competitive angle as well, because of these kinds
Yeah. I like, as long as some of our competitors also, I know like they don't apply AI for every role or everything. So that's give me an edge. Okay, I will apply AI in every role and beat you.
Yes. Yeah. I love it.
It's a good tip for any small startup.
Yeah. You have to find ways to get leverage as much.
Yes. Especially against big companies, like because some companies they have billions of dollars startups for engineers, but maybe they're not super to apply AI. So let's be there.
Yeah. So yeah, this has been like a super, I think a super interesting conversation. So any final thoughts that you want to share, perhaps for anyone who's listening?
Yeah. Like first of all, I really enjoyed this conversation. It's very interesting. And the thing is, it's the right time for you to apply the AI and try to build your own stuff and change the market. Like my advice, everybody look to the problems around you and see how AI gonna change that. And be the person who change it, because if you don't do it, another person will come and do that. Again, like this chance doesn't come a lot in lifetime. Currently, maybe we missed the internet boom, the dot-com boom. Some person missed the mobile boom. So let's not miss the AI time.
Yeah.
Now that's my like, yeah, now is the time.
Yeah, that's right. I love it.
Thanks.
Great. So thank you so much for this, Ahmed. It's been a super fantastic conversation. Thank you for everyone who's listened in. So if you are listening or watching this on Spotify or YouTube or whatever platform you're listening, then please do make sure that you are sharing the podcast out with others, and also that you are subscribing to us and liking the episodes. So thank you again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you.
I enjoyed talking with you too. And until next time, thank you.
Okay, take care.